Southeast Asia. Stunning beaches, incredible food, ancient temples, and it turns out, some of the most jaw-dropping financial crimes in human history. Billions of dollars, fake identities, movie stars, and one very busy personal driver. Whether you are a professional looking for love online, a taxpayer in a country you have never visited, or someone who just bought a pair of Ray-Bans, somebody in this region has had their eyes on your wallet. Welcome to SEA Daily Buzz. Today we are going deep on the scams, frauds, and heists that rewrote the record books. Today, a CFO who sent over $180 million to a man she never video called. A prime minister who reportedly funded a Hollywood blockbuster about financial fraud with stolen money. A tycoon who had her driver haul $4 billion in cash to her basement. A gambling ring that hid $3 billion inside Singapore's fanciest neighborhoods, including in plastic bear toys. And an industry generating $44 billion a year built entirely on human suffering. Let us get into it. Our first story is technically a love story, or at least one person thought it was. Chamanun Petpuri was the CFO of Essilor Manufacturing Thailand, the company behind the lenses inside your Ray-Ban sunglasses. By all accounts, she was brilliant, dedicated, and deeply lonely. Then a man called Dr. Andrew Chang sent her a sweet hello on LinkedIn. He claimed to be a U.S. Army doctor in Afghanistan. His late wife had left him a $58 million inheritance in a Swiss bank. He needed help getting it to Thailand, where the two of them would build a life together. Over the following months, they exchanged more than 50,000 WhatsApp messages. 50,000. He never once agreed to a phone call or video chat, always too busy or bad internet in Afghanistan. She was not bothered. Because love makes people believe things. The scammers convinced her to borrow from her employer. When she hesitated, Dr. Andy allegedly replied, "Come on, I love you. When the inheritance arrives, we can pay it back and nobody will know because you are the CFO." So she started signing off on fake invoices. 251 of them. The money went to 112 bank accounts across 17 countries. In December 2019 alone, she reportedly moved $140 million out of a JP Morgan account. JP Morgan blocked a legitimate $19 million company transfer that same month for being suspicious, while the actual fraud sailed right through undetected. When Essilor confronted her with the evidence, Chamanun still could not believe Dr. Andy was not real. Police spent days explaining it before she accepted it. Total taken, roughly 6.3 billion baht, about 186 million US dollars. Sentenced to 502 years in prison, capped at 20 years served. She is now in Bangkok's Klong Prem Central Prison, serving time for loving a ghost. The man behind Dr. Andy's profile? Still at large. If Story 1 was a crime of the heart, Story 2 was a crime of the briefcase. In 2009, Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak created a government investment fund called 1MDB. Official purpose? Reduce poverty, drive economic growth. Actual purpose, according to U.S. prosecutors, the world's largest government piggy bank. The alleged architect was a 27-year-old financier named Joe Low. At boarding school in England, Low had reportedly borrowed a classmate's family yacht, replaced all the family photos with his own, and invited schoolmates over to pretend he owned it. He was practicing for bigger things. Low allegedly funneled 1MDB money into Goldman Sachs bond deals. Goldman reportedly charged fees roughly 200 times the industry standard on those bonds, a $250 million super yacht, Monet paintings, and most deliciously, a Hollywood production company called Red Granite Pictures. Red Granite used reportedly stolen Malaysian public money to finance a Martin Scorsese film about financial fraud. That film was The Wolf of Wall Street. Joe Low is thanked by name in the credits. Leonardo DiCaprio personally thanked him at the Golden Globes. An audience watched a film about fraud, funded by fraud, while thanking the alleged fraudster. Low also reportedly gave DiCaprio a Picasso and a Basquiat. And, for reasons that remain unclear, Marlon Brando's missing Oscar for On the Waterfront. When Najib lost the 2018 election, police found 567 handbags, 423 luxury watches, and $30 million cash stuffed inside the bags. His wife reportedly spent $346 million in 1MDB funds across 14 countries. Najib's explanation for the $681 million wired into his personal account, a charitable donation from a Saudi prince. The court in December 2025 called those letters reportedly forgeries and found him guilty on all 25 counts. Joe Low? Last reportedly seen living in Shanghai under a fake Australian passport. Still free. Now we escalate, because everything so far is warm-up. Truong My Lan started out selling cosmetics with her mother at a market stall in Ho Chi Minh City. When Vietnam's economic reforms opened private enterprise in the late 1980s, she walked through that door and kept walking. By 2011, she controlled Van Thinh Phat, one of the country's biggest real estate empires, and had engineered the merger of 3 failing banks into Saigon Commercial Bank. Vietnamese law capped any individual's ownership of a bank at 5%. On paper, Lan owned exactly 5%. In reality, through hundreds of shell companies and proxies, she allegedly controlled over 90%. For 11 years, Saigon Commercial Bank was, as analysts openly described it, her personal piggy bank. 93% of every loan the bank issued went back to her companies. Total loans? $44 billion. The embezzlement charge alone was $12.5 billion, roughly 3% of Vietnam's entire GDP. Then there is the detail that makes this cinematic. Beginning in 2019, Lan allegedly sent her personal driver to SCB branches to physically withdraw cash. Trip by trip for 3 years. 108 trillion Vietnamese dong, more than $4 billion US, which in Vietnam's largest denomination banknotes would weigh approximately 2 tons. She stored it all in her basement. Trial. 86 defendants, 2,700 witnesses, 104 boxes of evidence weighing 6 tons. The paperwork weighed 3 times as much as the cash she had hoarded. She was sentenced to death. Appeal rejected. Then, in June 2025, Vietnam abolished the death penalty for financial crimes entirely. Her lawyer said she is, quote, very happy. The law simply changed around her. She is now serving life. Singapore likes to think of itself as the region's squeaky clean financial hub. August 15, 2023 was a bad day for that reputation. More than 400 police officers hit Singapore's most exclusive neighborhoods simultaneously, Sentosa Cove, Nassim Road, Orchard Road, and arrested 10 people, all originally from Fujian Province, China, none holding Chinese passports. They had cycled through Cambodian, Cypriot, Turkish, and Vanuatu passports to present as legitimate business people. Their money came from illegal online gambling targeting Chinese punters inside China. What police found reads like a lifestyle catalog from a particularly unstable dream. 50 vehicles, including Ferraris and Rolls-Royces, over 250 luxury handbags and watches, $23 million in physical cash found in suitcases and cupboards, and 69 bear-shaped plastic figurines called bear bricks. The rarest was valued at over 300,000 Singapore dollars. The gang had chosen them partly because collectible stores are not required to report suspicious customers to regulators. Bear bricks, the anti-money laundering loophole nobody saw coming. One of the 10 arrested reportedly jumped off a second-floor balcony when police knocked, fractured both feet, and was found hiding in a drain nearby. His explanation in court: he thought someone wanted to kill him over a romantic encounter in Dubai. The judge was unmoved. Total seized, 3 billion Singapore dollars. Longest sentence, 17 months. Most of the 10 served under 9 months with good behavior, then were deported. One man forfeited $180 million in assets and served roughly 9 months in jail. 15 fugitives who were never caught surrendered $1.85 billion to Singapore in exchange for having their Interpol notices cleared. They are banned from Singapore. Otherwise, free. Everything so far has been about individuals who chose to do terrible things for money. This last story is about a system, and systems are harder to stop. In the 2010s, Chinese criminal groups built a massive casino economy in Cambodia's Sihanoukville. When Cambodia banned online gambling in 2019, the buildings emptied almost overnight. Then COVID collapsed what remained. Operators looked at their empty hotels and made a decision. Same buildings, same workforce, new product. Those casinos became scam factories. Workers, many trafficked, lured by fake job ads promising admin roles in gleaming offices, arrived to find their passports confiscated and a computer waiting. Told what to say. Made to say it 16 hours a day, targeting strangers through romance scams and fake crypto platforms. A 15-year-old Vietnamese girl described being required to scam 10 people daily. Fall short. Beaten. Fall far short. Sold to another compound. A gong reportedly sounds every time a victim transfers money. One strike equals roughly $7,000. According to the UN and USIP, this generates an estimated $43.8 billion per year across the Mekong region. Nearly 40% of those three countries' combined formal GDP. More than 300,000 people are believed trapped right now, from 66 countries. In Cambodia, journalists reporting on the compounds have been arrested. The Alice Guo case in the Philippines showed compound networks had allegedly reached inside local government. When crackdowns came in 2025 and 2026, workers fled dragging suitcases and computer monitors through the streets. Mass evacuations authorities claim they somehow did not see coming. The scam industry is not a scandal, it is an economy. And until the governments hosting it decide it costs more than it pays, it will not stop. From a Thai CFO who fell for 50,000 messages, to a financier allegedly sipping tea in Shanghai under a fake name, to a tycoon whose driver hauled billions in cash trip by trip, this region does not do small crimes. Every story we covered today is real. The numbers have been verified, and if anything, we only scratched the surface. If you want more, subscribe so you do not miss episode 03. Next week, Southeast Asia's most controversial infrastructure projects, where the money is enormous, the contracts are murky, and the question of who actually benefits has some very uncomfortable answers. Thanks for watching Daily Buzz.